All right, you guys, we are here for another episode of the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. And this episode is going to be amazing. So I know that if you've been listening to me for a little while, you know that I'm starting ever more slowly, ever more quickly, actually, to dip my toe into the world of woo-woo. I'm very analytical. I've always been someone who looks at numbers and spreadsheets and business and those kind of things, but I am realizing the power of energy work and energy healing and really being open to all possibilities. And, it makes sense because I notice so much, and I know you guys do as well, like when we're working on our clients and when we're working on our patients, there is a real transfer of energy that happens. And so that's just however you want to define it. There is an exchange that takes place. And so today I have a very special guest. My good friend Silke is joining us, and she is a Reiki Master, an energy healer. She's been in this world of spirituality for over 30 years. You guys have heard me talk about her in the intro, but she's going to help us do a couple of things. So first, we're going to talk about how to create a sacred space in your treatment room. And then Silke is going to walk us through a guided meditation that you can do before starting your day, before seeing your clients, to really ensure that you're giving the highest energy, your highest self to your clients and to your patients. So Silke, thank you so much for this.
Oh, thank you for having me on. What an honor. I'm so excited. Such a beautiful space to share this knowledge with. So thank you for the space.
Oh, very good. So let's go ahead and first tell me a little bit about your background. I know that when we were talking earlier, you kind of started with Reiki. Is that right? Like you started learning Reiki and getting really involved in that, and your spirituality journey really just kind of guided, that's where your path began, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So my path really, if I go back, just kind of always has been there and always has shown itself. Because ever since I was a little girl, I just remembered moments where I just felt like that kind of enlightenment, of just feeling that light and feeling that connection and just knowing that there is something different there than maybe what we were taught. And of course, in parts we were taught, but there were still like elements missing. And so pretty much all my life, it's been more that search of finding what I knew to be truth. And then of course, there were more and more tools available slowly. And the first tool that I found shortly after my son Daniel was born was Reiki, because as a new mom, I really needed something to connect me back to me when I felt depleted and, just didn't feel right, didn't quite feel like myself, so many moms of course can identify with that. And so for me, receiving
I'm already thinking that in my head right now.
Yes. So for me, really honoring my true self and giving myself permission to say I need to refuel myself. And that for me came through the form of Reiki, through energy healing, through a friend of mine that I had known who was already a Reiki master. And then slowly after that, learning more and more myself. And so really developing from there first as a client and learning about it. But again, already the history already went back further just because I had already studied so much and already anything that I could get my hands on, as far as the knowledge and that path, so that path has, like I said, kind of been guiding me all along and along the path of starting with Reiki and then growing from there and meeting other teachers and guides along the way. And then of course, also the internal guidance and external guidance that we have that's available to all of us. And so, yeah, it's been a journey.
Very cool. Yeah. And it is kind of like when we were talking before, you're saying that everybody has the ability to heal, to do energy healing. Everybody has intuition. Everybody can be benefited by meditation. It's just a muscle. It's about like really practicing and doing it. And I mean, you've been doing this for 30 years now, more maybe. And so it's obviously when you do anything for 30 years and really put your energy and focus into it, you're obviously going to be good at it or have a
Yeah,
deep
exactly.
understanding.
Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah, it's exactly what you said. It's a muscle, it's just something, whatever we put our focus on, and then just keep that laser focus on that. And that's what's just going to keep growing and developing more. Like for me, my intuition, yes, it was always there, but not until I really started practicing it. And then also started practicing it with clients and what naturally would come in during the sessions, and then trusting that more and more. In the beginning, it was always still a little scary of, wow, can I really say this? Is this really, am I really getting this from the right source? And, the information. And then once I trusted it and the information would be accurate and it would just keep coming through, then, it's that muscle that starts developing and coming in stronger and stronger. And I do absolutely believe that we all are born with this. And it used to be something that used to be much more normal in our society, much further back in history of Earth, but I think we've just kind of lost it, and now we're just slowly coming back to it. So I do feel like it's in our DNA for sure.
So you teach your students how to create sacred spaces, and what does that mean to you? What is a sacred space and what are the benefits?
So sacred space is a space, first of all, for ourselves where we can feel comfortable in. And that's important, that we kind of create that in our environment, to where when we come home to that environment, and even if it's within our practice as well, even more important in our practice too, because we spend so much time there, that we feel comfortable and we're fully bringing our presence to it. And we can feel if there's a disconnect when our presence isn't fully there. And then, of course, for our clients, the benefit is because they're coming to see us, they're drawn to us. And so when they're coming to see us, they would like our full presence to be active for them as well. And so when that presence is there and it's showing itself in the space around us, then of course our clients are more comfortable as well.
So does this help, having a sacred space? A lot of times when we're seeing our clients, it's like a person every hour, you have 10 minutes between them. And sometimes people have these amazing energies and can light us up. And sometimes people are really heavy and, maybe they're going through something of their own or whatever. But having a sacred space, having your treatment room as a sacred space, does that help kind of mitigate that energy and really help to keep you in your zone and not let that affect you? Is that, would you say that's one of the benefits?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And of course, it's important, for us to learn to cleanse ourselves in between sessions. And I think we talked about eventually teaching that as well. So yeah, that's obviously vitally important because we do pick up energy through our environment, of course. But the more we have our space set for ourselves, the less energy we pick up. And when we have sacred tools and sacred things around us, and we know even like the beautiful God-given things that we have in nature and have from earth, like essential oils and all these other tools that I'm going to show a little bit today. Those are just beautiful tools to always just enhance that energy naturally.
Cool. So let's go ahead and get into it. So how would you create a sacred space in your treatment room?
Okay, so the very first thing that you would want to do is find out where the directions are in your room. So you would just take a compass, and of course nowadays with cell phones it's so much easier because all you have to do is get an app. And so you would just go ahead and look on your app and just align it with the directions and see, okay, so where's east, where's west, where's south, where's it all located? And then basically go from there. So in our northern hemisphere, everything starts with the east because the energy builds in the east. The sun rises in the east, and so that's basically the pattern that we have set up here. And so for that, we usually start in the direction of the east. And all the energy comes from there. So in the morning, obviously, the sun rises, so it starts building there. The east represents air, and so it's that air energy. It's the energy of the thoughts that we create in our environment, and so it all starts with that initial seed of that thought. What is the thought that's driving us? And then from the east, and I'll get more into each direction here in a couple minutes as well. But I just want to kind of take you through the directions of how we create our life in general as as well. So then from the east, we go to the south, the fire energy. And so that fire is that creative force that starts bringing that first seed of thought into our reality, but not fully manifesting it yet. So it's more just, okay, now that creative fire is starting to come in. And, so how do we want to bring that creativity into our space? So first it's our thoughts that we carry into the space, then it's the creative environment, and also the energy that we bring to our people as well. And then from there we move into the west, so the water energy. And so the water carries emotions. It can also flush away things. It's a very powerful force as well, but it's also a gentle force. And of course it's so dominant in our body depending on our age, but around 70% of our body is made of water, so that carries a lot of energy in it as well. So it's very important to nourish ourselves with beautiful water, and also the messages we maybe even put in our water as well. So all those elements kind of come together. So now we're bringing at first that creative force now into the west element of the water, and the water carries that emotion, because without the emotions we don't really want to do projects, we're not really aligned with our projects. So it's important, so what emotions are we bringing to it? And it's usually, if we're starting new projects or on a daily basis when we're coming into our space, it's the excitement that we carry with us, that this is the work that I love doing, and
desire, passion, those kind of things, like that lights you up for your work.
Exactly. So it's that honor of, wow, I get to serve people today. They show up because they want to be there with me, for me to be the person to help them. And what an honor that is, to have that connection, and for them to want to come see us. And so it's literally that energy that we're now bringing around, and then it all kind of closes with the energy of the earth, so the northern energy. And and if we're going by the seasons, then it's also the winter, and if we're going by the days throughout the day, then of course it's the close of the day at night, when we're slowly winding down. But again, the earth energy is what completes everything. So this is like the manifestation that we see in our reality. So your treatment room itself basically holds that energy then of, okay, so now we're bringing it all together and I'm making the treatments happen. So I hope that helps a little bit, just to kind of give you an intro.
But what are you supposed to do with those energy? Like, that, does this have to do with like where you're putting your table, or where you're like kind of like a feng shui kind of thing, or just how you, So these things, you understand what energy different things bring, and then are you placing, maybe you're going to get into this, but are you putting like specific objects in certain areas, or just, I guess, what do you do with that information?
Yeah. No, it's a fantastic question, and that's absolutely accurate. So yes, you can use objects, and then also you can place your table according to this as well, for example. Of course, it also depends, because there's always like the optimum setup for this, or you can also do like an alternative as well. So for example, what's of course always helpful, like in your space, you might not want to have the head where your door is facing, because then it kind of pulls that energy out. So you rather would want to have the feet more closer to the door, for example. That would be just a general idea. But if you're going by the directions, and if you can set it up that way, then it's always a great idea to have the head by the eastern side, because again, that gives that person energy. And then if you can stand next to the person off to the left, if you're looking down, because then you're giving them energy, because the energy, again, it always makes that curve around, basically, so in a clockwise motion. And so then naturally, this is a really great setup to have. So you would be next to the person, and again, ideal circumstances, if it's possible, then you would have their head to the east, because that already gives them a lot of beautiful energy to begin with. And then from there, we can also place certain objects. Do you have another question?
I was just going to ask about the objects. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I have here my table. If you would see it right now, it's like full of different objects that I brought. But let's go ahead and let's start with the center of your room. If you can place things in the center of your room, then, and again, it depends if that's possible, because in a treatment room, you obviously wouldn't necessarily want to block it necessarily.
Yeah, treatment rooms are small, and a lot of times the table takes up so much of it, but there is space under the table. So could you actually put some of these objects under the table for the the energy of them rather, I mean,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to see them, but to control the energy.
Yeah, then I think that would be brilliant. So what I would absolutely recommend is a rose quartz sphere. And so this is what that would look like. And you can get, a smaller one or bigger one, but I would recommend a good size sphere for sure. And then they have like these little plastic stands in their simplest forms. And so that's basically what this would look like. Because rose quartz just has really beautiful heart energies, and you want to bring as much loving, as much compassionate, good feeling energy into your space. And so rose quartz just will naturally do that for you. You could also just get a regular quartz sphere. There's also selenite, for example, where you can create beautiful energy with that sphere. That's more angelic quality. So, there's not really much right or wrong. And then also you might just want to see what are you naturally drawn to. But I would say for the center of your space, definitely something like a rose quartz, just because you're naturally bringing in the beautiful qualities, and it will help keep your room in that space naturally.
Very
And
cool.
another thing you could also put in the center as well, or underneath your table, or right on your table, would be an amethyst, for example. And of course, there are bigger ones besides this one here too. I have some really big ones in my home as well and in my office. But amethyst clusters are really great because they hold a very high vibration and they hold it for a long time. So when you have crystals in general in your office, and I'll share a couple more as well, you do want to cleanse them frequently. And you'll know after a while, if they feel or if they might look a little dull or so. I recommend, if you have a treating room, probably every couple of days would be a good idea for you to go ahead and just rinse your crystals underwater and then put them out in the sun for maybe not necessarily more than an hour. Like amethyst doesn't really like being in the sun for too long, but just an hour or so is really enough to just recharge it again. And in Reiki, I teach how to do this energetically without even using anything else to clear and activate your crystals. But those are kind of the simplest forms of using that.
So you're talking to someone that knows zero about crystals. So I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about recharging the crystals, is that like because they're like energy sources, and so maybe they're pulling energy, so you're kind of cleansing that energy, or you're literally cleansing them because they're dirty, and because you said rinse them under the water?
You're cleansing the energy. And the rinsing under the water is one of the most effective ways and the easiest and simplest way, because you can easily do that to just get rid of that energy. And once you start developing your senses with it more and more and start doing that on a frequent basis, I promise you, you'll start feeling that, because you'll be able to look at the crystal and you're like, it looks kind of dull now, or it looks kind of heavy, or it feels heavy even. Sometimes it might even feel kind of lead-like. And so once you rinse it underwater, it's almost like you can feel that drain away, and you'll know. But usually rinsing for just a couple of minutes underwater is very effective. And then exactly what you were saying, you're basically charging the energy again. You can also charge energy just by holding a crystal in your hands and just connecting with it as well. And, just feeling it and really just making that connection. And they'll start coming alive for you in your hands, which is absolutely beautiful. The first time I discovered that, it was just such a miracle just to see how the crystals will light up for you when you're truly honoring them and you're making that connection with them. But the easy thing is for sure just to go ahead and take them out in the sun.
So I remember I was listening to a podcast about crystals, because I know that so many people are into them. And again, I'm just like at this very beginning level where I know zero about them. And someone said, your crystals will find you when they're ready, or something like that. So is that something that you believe, that like people, or would you say like, because obviously we're giving this training about how to, change energy in your room. People are going to just Google, like sphere rose quartz, is that something that it's okay? Are there like websites that you buy crystals at, or you go to a store, or are you supposed to wait until they just magically find you? Like you're walking somewhere and then you walk by this store that you all of a sudden see this rose gold or rose crystal.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, yeah, and there are different belief systems around that, and obviously all of them are valid. So for me, I always go for the easiest ideas and the most practical solutions,
Uh-huh.
and always for the most expensive solutions as well, just to make it easy for life in general. And so for me, I mean, I purchase my crystals and sell them retail. So I have a really big selection in my classroom here because I teach classes in my classroom here, and so my students can just come, and when they're in the classes, then they just kind of pick and see, and exactly what you were saying, where they just naturally see what they're drawn to. And it is kind of like your crystal will find you, because, and I teach them too, I said, when you hold it in your hand, you'll know, you'll feel
Ah,
if
so
there's a connection that you're making.
you actually sell the crystals.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that. Okay, so we'll be sure to link up your store in the show notes if that.
Actually, I don't sell them online yet or anything. So yeah, I sell
Oh,
them
okay.
only in my classes themselves.
Okay.
Thank you for that. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I'm just trying to
Yeah.
think the easiest and most practical solution.
Yeah, I may eventually. So at this moment, I don't have an official store, and so it would just be more when people come to my classes, or when I host an event, for the crystals themselves. So yeah.
Okay. All
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
So we talked about rose quartz. We talked about amethyst.
Hmm.
And what it reminds me again. So the rose quartz is a loving, healing energy. What
Yeah.
is the amethyst? What
So
is
the amethyst is more for the higher chakra, so it holds a very high vibration for your space as well. And so the beautiful thing with the crystals is that they naturally have their vibration. And so we don't need to do anything, to tune them to a certain vibration. They just have it naturally.
that?
And this is just knowledge that's been developing over, thousands of years of people using them and feeling their energies. And so whenever you choose to put a certain crystal, like a rose quartz or like an amethyst in the space, the amethyst naturally will raise the level of vibration in your space without you having to do anything at all.
I see. Okay. Okay. So what else? What's next after we
All
get?
right. So that would be for your center. And then let's start with the east, with the air. So there's different things that you can use. And I actually have my big singing bowls here, because if you have like a singing bowl, and I have actually bigger ones than that too, but I have like a whole set for all the different chakras. But if you have different singing bowls, and this one here is a quartz singing bowl, and you have a singing bowl that you use for your space, this is again a beautiful way to bring high vibrational energy into the space. And this, of course, would connect with the element of air. So you could even have just a small singing bowl sitting in your eastern space, for example, if you have that available. You could have like, let me go ahead and actually ding that for you, if that's okay, just
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. I actually, so my yoga teacher would do that. That's how she would start our
Mhm.
class, was having like dinging a
Yeah.
bell.
And then, of course, these are really meant to rotate. So you would just basically just keep on going with that. And this one, by the way, is attuned to the heart chakra. So the F sound, which is really one of the most beautiful sounds you can bring into the vibration of a space, because again, you want to send that out. You want to send out that frequency of the heart. And so this one here would be a quartz one. And then, of course, there are also the Tibetan singing bowls as well, and then they have their sound to them. And you can go much simpler. If you just want to have a representation of the energy, you could, for example, have the representation of air through feathers, for example. You could have like little flutes if you wanted to. Again, this is just more just to represent the energy of it. And then there's also little bells that you could have. Or they also have like, these little chimes right here that you could use as well.
And
Yeah.
so,
Mm-hmm.
so we're aligning the east with air. And
Yeah.
remind me again what that energy does, or what that
Mm-hmm. So
focus.
by bringing a representation into the space, you're bringing in the energy. So if you have a feather, for example, this naturally has the energy of air that it holds, through the birds flying in the air. So it already holds that energy, and so you're basically just bringing that element into your space. So it's more about bringing the elements in. So this way you have like a complete set of all the elements represented. And what I was telling you earlier is kind of the setup that you create with it then. So this way you can just walk in your space, you feel good.
Okay. Okay, cool.
And then for the south, for example, of course, you'd have the element of fire. So this one here is actually rose quartz crystal that they did drill into, and then you could put a candle in it, for example. And then also, which is kind of a combination of air and fire, would be incense, for example, if you like to burn incense. And two of my favorites, and we can post those in the show notes later, would be, for example, scent of samadhi, and then also Nagchampa. So those are two, and this one here would be the scent of samadhi, for example. And they will naturally cleanse and enhance the energy of your air, and again cleanse it as far as energetic cleansing. And then there's a lot of other tools that you can use as well, for resins. Let's see, Palo Santo, for example, and I'll actually get into Palo Santo here in a minute too. But again, there's many different things you could use for that. And then of course, just a candle that you would light. So candles, of course, naturally will hold that fire energy, and that's really easy.
So how do you feel about those electric candles? Like, does that still work? Or is that, because sometimes they're like a fire hazard.
Yeah.
No, you have to have
so
a real
much for
candle?
me personally. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because you do actually want to bring the element of fire in the space.
Okay.
Okay, and then for the West, for example, water energy. So a chalice is really beautiful, and you could even put some water in it. And again, water holds vibration, it holds emotions. So by having some in there, and let's say, your client feels heavy or so, then actually that can actually be absorbed in the water. And then you would just rinse that out at the end of the day, start with a fresh chalice of water. And that's a really beautiful way to do it. You can even put a couple of drops of essential oil in it, for example. And then of course the water energy would also be represented if you just want to have a shell there, for example. And again, we're just bringing in that energy. And hold on a second, sorry, something popped up on my screen. There we go. And then essential oils that I would recommend, for example, depending on what the purpose is, but if you want to cleanse, you could use sage, for example. And I just have these little ones here because that's when I teach Reiki and my chakra classes, then I have these available for my students to smell and look at. So I brought a couple here. So sage, for example. Let's see, lavender is a really beautiful one because that holds just such a gentle clearing energy, but clearing in a very beautiful way, for example. And then rose holds one of the highest vibrations, and it's kind of expensive, but it's so worth it. So I definitely recommend, anyone having rose oil, for example. And lotus, again, very expensive, but beautiful, very sensual oil. So these are some of the oils. And then of course, what you can do, and I'm gonna go over here to show you here. So you can get a diffuser. And I know many people already have them nowadays. And so then you're naturally representing the energy of water, and put a couple of drops of essential oils in your diffuser and you're ready to go. And one of my favorite oil mixes that I use is Chill Pill, which is by Oracasha. And I love the smell of it because it already has a combination of different ones in it by themselves. And I'm not associated with them in any way, but I just really love what they have. And then I make my own clearing spray, and this does have Palo Santo in it, for example, if you want to go into the direction of spraying water for clearing your energy. And Palo Santo oil holds a very beautiful energy of clearing spaces and uplifting the space at the same time, and it smells really wonderful.
So that could be something you do in between your clients.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And
that
then,
would be really helpful.
And then last but not least, the north.
So the
Right.
north, of course, we have a lot of earth objects in general for the north. So crystals, for example, gemstones, are naturally really great for the north, for example. So this one here, definitely represents earth energies. It's green, it's bluish, so it naturally has it. And that's a green moss agate, for example. So agates, jaspers, those are beautiful stones to represent the energy of earth. And then I also have a rainbow obsidian, because rainbow obsidian absorbs, and I don't really like to say negative energy, but just heavy energy that people might naturally have. So like what we were talking about with water, for example, if you have, for example, obsidian, or also, and this again is a rainbow obsidian, or also a tourmaline, for example, in your space as well, then
That's
they will
beautiful.
naturally absorb energy, and they will also help uplift and in part also block some of the heavier energies as well. So you can just feel good in your space, and it makes it a lot easier as well. And then you could also have, of course, north represented through coins, for example, bringing in abundance. And, these are like the dollar coins here, and that's kind of fun. So again, it can be very simple. You can make it as simple or as elaborate as you like, as long as there's a representation in your space.
Of the different elements.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think everybody has their homework cut out for them. I'm going to see everybody listening to this episode multiple times and going through and redoing their treatment room. So we wanted to finish off. You were gracious enough to offer to kind of lead us in just a quick meditation that our listeners can actually do when they're first starting out their day to really get started in their treatment room. So do you want to go ahead and kind of walk us through that?
Absolutely. Okay, so the first thing that you always want to do, so let's say you would be coming into your treatment room, and then let's say you would be standing up in your room. So the first thing that you always want to do is really feel your connection to the earth through your feet, and then send loving, beautiful energy to Mother Earth. The first thing always for me is gratitude, to really honor the space that we were given, and to also, send that gratitude to Mother Earth for providing it for all these earth elements, for everything that we're receiving, and feeling that connection. And then once you can feel that connection and send the gratitude, then usually it's reciprocated right back to you again. And then allow that energy to come up. And you might not feel it as much in the beginning, but just trust the process that the more you're going to be doing it, the more you'll start feeling that. Then from there, just connect, bring that energy up, and then also connect with divine source from above. And again, you might not feel it very strong in the beginning, but the more you do this, the more it'll start coming in. So you're feeling the energies from below, you're bringing them up into your body, you feel the divine energy coming down into you, and feel that connection. And what you can even do is bring your hands like up, kind of like this. Let me see if we can see that. Yeah, so it would kind of look like this. And when I'm raising my hands, then it looks like this. Yeah, so basically where the hands come together like this, where they would meet together, but on top. Yep, exactly like that. And then you might want to, and then you can kind of feel that energy pouring down. And you can do this, or you can just stand perfectly still in however you want to do it. And then once you start feeling that energy, then you can bring it back down and just rest your hands back down comfortably. So again, this is just a preliminary step, so you know what you basically need to do to get started with. So you feel that energy, start the connection, feel the connection deeper and deeper and more, centering inside your body. And bring the earth energies and the energies from divine into your heart space, and connect them into your heart. And of course, the energies of our heart, the toroidal field around our heart, is so much more powerful than anything else. So from that field, we can send our energy out into our space. And once we start just feeling that energy expanding out and just allowing it, just allow that beautiful, vibrant, light energy, that gratitude for our space and for us being here. So just send that energy, that gratitude out into your space, into all the corners of your space, starting with the east. Send it to the east and send gratitude. Send it to the south Again, feel that gratitude and invite the energies of the East, invite the energies of the South into your space to support you, to guide you, to be there for you, for optimum benefit for everyone that is in the space with you, and yourself, of course, as well, for you to hold strong. And then bring that energy around in a clockwise motion to the west, the water energy. And again, connect in, send gratitude, feel that energy, invite it in. And then to the earth energies of the north, invite them in and send gratitude, and then close that circuit back all the way around and back to the east. And then when that connection is formed, then tune into your room for a minute and start feeling the spaces in your room. Feel the corners, feel the walls, feel the energy of every object, of everything that you have in your space. And just make it a light experience for you. And see if anything feels off. And if it does, all you have to do is just send that vibration from your heart center into the space and just send love and gratitude into those areas. And then focus on the day, focus on the people that are coming to see you, that you have permission to serve for that day. And see what that day is going to be like for you, and feel that excitement for it, and feel your power fully connected in. Feel how much you can contribute and how beautiful your contribution is every day. And then set one moment of intention of what this day is going to be like for you and everyone around you. Beautiful. And then with that, you can slowly start releasing the energies again, start centering yourself, just back more, contracting a little bit back in, and still fully vibrating in that beautiful space of light and love. And then when you're ready, then you can come back. If you have your eyes closed, you can open your eyes again and feel yourself present back in yourself, and feel yourself connected to your space now and to the beautiful day that you're going to have.
Oh, that was amazing. I feel like so much more calm just after those 2 minutes.
Oh,
That's
thank you.
that was, what a beautiful way to imagine if we all just started our day with something like that, instead of like running around and feeling worried or stressed or whatever. If you start from that space of gratitude, and you start from that space of, I get to do this. And
Yeah.
I have the pleasure and honor of serving these people who are coming in to see me for a treatment, even if it's one person. You know, a lot of times when people see something, you know, they see one person on their books, their whole energy goes down, and they're worried about, you know, it's fear, it's lack, it's scarcity. How are they going to make it? How are they going to get new clients? And rather than focusing on that one person, they're focusing on everything else, which then perpetuates it, because that one person is not going to truly get what that individual can offer.
Yeah. That's so
So
cool. Mm-hmm.
this is really like the way, whether you're woo woo or not, it's like, I can tell you that I feel a completely different energy from just a couple minutes ago, just from taking a couple minutes to center myself and to really be present in the moment. So that's such a beautiful, beautiful gift. Thank you, Silke.
Oh, my honor. Thank you.
Great. So we will be sure to include all of the links for people to stay connected with you and learn about your courses and programs that you're offering, for people that want to go deeper with. I know you said you do chakra trainings, you do Reiki trainings, you also do teach sacred space and have all sorts of different ways that people can connect with you and really go deeper on this spirituality journey. So we'll be sure to link those up in the show notes. And I think this is the beginning for us, Silke. I think we're definitely going to have you on again.
Oh, I would love to, for sure. This is so fun. This is what I love to do. So again, it's my honor. So thank you for having me in your space today.
All right. All right, guys, I'll catch you on the next episode.